Well, folks, Canadian employment came out this morning and it was crap.
Unemployment surges to new record highs over the last decade in Canada, maybe even more. We're going to discuss it in today's video with some articles and, of course, some videos. But if you guys find yourselves coming back to the channel, I want to let you guys know that about 90% of you are not yet subscribed. So if you do find yourself coming back, please hit that subscribe button. And with that being said, let's take a look at the very first video today.
Well, folks, Canadian employment came out this morning and it was crap. Over 60,000 jobs, permanent jobs, full-time jobs were lost. Approximately 30,000 jobs part-time were created. Net, there was a loss of about 30,000 jobs. This is like the worst employment number in Canada in a few years. So this is definitely going to weigh on the Bank of Canada's interest rate decision for April 16th. And this, supports another interest rate cut. Combined with the tariffs that were announced recently this week, this again adds more support for an interest rate cut on April 16th. Have a great day.
And the reason why the central bank will cut rates is to stimulate the economy and hopefully get businesses to borrow more money, to hire employees possibly, maybe people starting their own business and then they can hire employees. But the tariff threat thing is real, but they did the pause on the tariffs for a bit, Donald Trump. But again, he is so irrational that it really does scare not only the markets, but it scares a lot of governments around the world as well. So that type of instability is not good, especially for countries who want that desperately so they can have a good job market. Unemployment causing significant challenges for Canadian job seekers. No shit. In a rapidly changing job market, the consequences of prolonged unemployment are taking a significant toll on job seekers, affecting not only their skills and confidence, but also their mental health and networking opportunities, according to an Express Employment Professionals Harris Poll survey. The primary reasons for unemployment include needing to quit or voluntarily quitting, 33%, and being laid off, 17%. Over one quarter of unemployment job seekers, 27%, have been out of work for more than 2 years. While this is lower than 38% in the spring and fall of 2023, the proportion is still relatively high and the impacts can be severe. But in the fall of 2023, there are still some impacts for COVID, which is, believe it or not, that's kind of crazy. Seems like it was over for a while, but there's still some lingering effects. So to see that happening 2 years later, we're getting worse job numbers. That's pretty alarming considering we should be out of the pandemic. There should be no excuses at this point. So what is going on with the job market? Canada lost 33,000 jobs in March as unemployment rate rose slightly to 6.7%. The Canadian economy shed 33,000 jobs in March, according to Statistics Canada, the biggest loss since January 2022. The agency said the unemployment rate also ticked slightly higher, rising to 6.7% in March from 6.6% in February. So that's not much of an increase, but you have to think about it in terms of the population. A 0.1% increase can be drastic, and 2% could be deadly.
Deeper rate cuts could be coming to Canada. Watch this. The Bank of Canada could be making larger rate cuts soon as the stock markets continue to fall and more Canadians are losing their jobs. This is increasing expectations that we'll see more rate cuts this year, with rates potentially falling to just 2%, and odds already rising for another rate cut in April. There could be limits to how aggressive these cuts could be, however. With the trade war expected to push inflation up, some are saying we may actually have to raise rates to keep inflation under control. So what do you guys think? How many rate cuts are coming this year, if any at all? Let me know.
And that's a very delicate balance because yes, when you do stimulate the economy, you can actually lead to inflation, but it also helps businesses borrow at cheaper costs, cheaper interest rate costs, and they can use that money to hire employees like I was stating earlier in the video. So it's a very delicate balance that you do not want to screw up, and a lot of governments can be thinking about that if they're going to lower rates. That's definitely a cause for concern, but it might be something that needs to happen. Let me know your thoughts about that as well down below in the comment section. Do you think interest rate cuts will actually stimulate the economy and help, or do you think it's going to cause more damage? And speaking of unemployment rates, I live in the province that has some of the highest in all of Canada. Alberta's 7.1% unemployment rate, highest growth in Canada, according to StatsCan. Alberta's unemployment rate saw the highest growth in the country, according to Statistics Canada. March jobs report published Friday. The province lost 15,000 jobs in March, bringing the unemployment rate to 7.1%, 0.4% higher than February. 0.4% higher from its previous month. That is alarming. Canada's unemployment rate for March rose to 6.7%, an increase from 6.6% in February. Alberta's unemployment rate is the fourth highest across the country. Most of the jobs lost in Alberta were in manufacturing, with 11,000 fewer jobs. Wholesale and retail trade were down 9,200 from February. Meanwhile, the loss of 33,000 Canadian jobs in March is the biggest loss since January 2022, according to StatsCan. And again, January 2022, Canada was still really dealing with COVID. So the fact that, again, you're having unemployment reach these levels, which companies were literally firing people en masse, is ridiculous. And this is where we are right now in Canada in 2025. Unfortunately, the job market does not look good. Unemployment is rising. What do you think is going to happen in the next few months? Leave your thoughts about that down below in the comment section. And with that being said, guys, I hope you learned something from today's video. And if you did, hit the like button on the way out. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.